It has been a full financial year in my small business, and I wanted to take you guys through the profit and loss of the full financial year and sort of how we've been going so far and sort of show the realities of small business and starting up. I don't use any accounting software or anything like that. I feel like the business isn't big enough, and I'm sure you're going to see from my numbers that I don't really want to have this expense of an accounting software to look at all my expenses. So what I've done is I just went onto YouTube and found a tutorial to make my own profit and loss worksheet in Excel. It looks like this. I'm going to pop it up on screen right now. And look, if you guys do want a little bit of a tutorial, or I can just link the video. It's a very basic video and it takes you through step by step how to do a little profit and loss sheet for yourself. Obviously, as my business grows, the plan is to use an accounting software. Hopefully I have too many expenses that it's just easier to go on there and I can afford the fees. But for now, I'm just going to keep doing this until the business sort of grows. In the profit and loss sheet, I've just broken it up per year. Obviously, if you have more sales, you can break them up into quarter and sort of mix and match them however you like. As I grow, I probably will go into quarters, and then hopefully by then I'll have enough sales that I can afford an accounting software, and it'll make this whole process so much easier. But there are a couple of different columns. Sales revenue, these are obviously all your sales. The cost of sales, so these are all like product costs, postage boxes, transaction fees, and all this sort of stuff that just has to do with the product itself. And then operating expenses. So this is sales and marketing, administrative expenses like office equipment and bank fees and things like that. And then obviously you have your total, and then there's profit margins. You have the gross profit and you have your net profit. Gross profit is just your sales minus your product costs, and your net profit is all the costs combined, subtracted by obviously your sales revenue. So I wanted to start with 24-25. Obviously this is the pre-financial year to the last. But I think it's important because that's sort of when a lot of the startup costs happened, and it gives you an understanding of, I guess, before you can even make a single sale, a few of the sort of startup costs that you need to start the small business. So I'm just going to go down the list. Obviously, sales revenue, there was nothing in 24-25. And I do have my laptop here for reference, just because I won't be able to remember these numbers off the top of my head, that's for sure. First category, product costs. These are raw materials that needed, obviously, for my small business and what I sell, as well as the sachets and some of the boxes that are required in order to sort of pack the sachets into. I get my sachets done from a third-party manufacturer, so obviously there's a cost for each individual sachet. And the more you buy, the cheaper it becomes. But obviously right now we're just at the minimum MOQ, the order quantity, and obviously it's purely because I didn't know how many sales we're going to have. And I probably will do that because you're going to have reiterations of what your design is going to be and what you want on the packaging. And I'm still not at the stage where I really believe it's everything that I want and it tells our full story of our business on those little individual sachets. So for now, I'll probably still do the minimums until we sort of grow enough that I need more than the minimum, because there is a lead time to all these things, as well as our boxes, right? The minimum order for the boxes was, I think, 500 boxes to start off with. And I mean, there's already so many things that we want to change about those boxes, but obviously I'm not going to order new boxes because I need to sell out the boxes I have, or else we're going to be in the hole a lot more. That might be a hint at what's coming in this video. So cost of sales, which is a couple of deposits and things like that I did in 24-25 to help me start up, was $2,291.75. So already in the hole, that much, just before you even think about selling a single product. Then we move into operating expenses. Let's start with sales and marketing. So in marketing, that's purely my Canva subscription. And this is one of the most important tools to do all Instagram and media and social media and all that sort of stuff. Canva is an amazing tool. It helped us design all our boxes, and when you get sort of die lines from your manufacturers, and that you have to put everything into the die line so that their printing is correct. So Canva's been an amazing tool and couldn't recommend it enough. We absolutely love it. So yep, that's an absolute non-negotiable. Subscriptions and admin. So this was my Shopify subscription that I paid in 24-25. I wanted to create my own Google Workspace, so I had a email. So you have your sort of website at the end of it. Makes it look a little bit more professional. I thought it was something important, and it also separates, I guess, your business from your personal stuff as well. So yeah, there's obviously a yearly fee for that, which was $130.68 for the year. I did go the initial, I guess, monthly, which cost me $35.40 as well. Shopify, I did have the trial phase, which was $1.10 for a month for the first 3 months. So that was $3.30 in there. And business name and domain registry. So obviously starting off the business, I bought it for 3 years. I registered my domain for 3 years, which is your website, as well as the business name from ASIC. And that was $199 for the business name, $89.04 for domain registry. I did that through Namecheap. Let's move into office equipment. So, thermal printer. I wanted a thermal printer. I didn't want to spend so much money on ink that it was completely non-viable for all their little labels. So, thermal printer I bought from Munbin, and that was $360 for that one-off expense. And obviously you have your labels. I think it did come with 500 labels to start off with, but obviously in the future I'm going to have to just buy those, but no ink. I bought a cutter and thermal rolls as well, some couple extras. So this is from Amazon. In terms of a cutter, all I mean is sort of a slide-in cutter. That way we could sort of do our batch and expiry dates and put them individually on each box. Because we don't have, I guess, the amount of orders at this stage, I wasn't sure which products would come in with the certain expiry dates and the batch numbers. So I just do this manually and stick them on at the back of the box. I did buy a new computer chair. It was necessary, so I put that onto business as well. $119 for that. And computer monitor was, I needed a new computer monitor. So that was $158.97, and that was all. And that was it for office equipment so far to start up. Obviously some of this you might have. You might have a computer chair, you might have a computer monitor. Thermal printer, which costs $360, you're probably not gonna have. But yeah, so some of the things you need. Miscellaneous, so I did buy a mixing whisk, and this was like one of those electronic mixing whisks, and we use this for our social media. So in our videos, we highly recommend using one of those. It's super easy to sort of mix our powder into your water. And so we bought that, put that onto the business as well, $24.98. Didn't have insurance at that stage, so no cost there, but obviously there will be insurance coming because we didn't have any sales at that stage. So total operating expenses was $1,158.70. So net profit is minus $3,450.45. So that was startup costs, roughly a little bit under $3,500, just to start off before you can think about making a sale. Let's move into 25, 26. So the exciting stuff, sales revenue. So we have a mixture of online sales, in-person sales, and direct to retailer. Direct to retailer we got very recently, and that's just sort of selling straight into shops. So we did have a couple of shops I inquired with, and you can watch my last video, and I've actually did a video on that. But it was awesome to see our product on a shelf. How that's going to go, we're still not sure. It's only been a couple of weeks. So we're just going to keep sort of updating, giving ourselves updates on that, and hopefully it works out and we continue getting these sales. We have obviously online sales through Shopify and in-person sales. This is a mixture of markets as well as sort of people we know that just come up and to our house and things like that and want to purchase a couple of boxes. I do have online app on my phone with Tyro, and you can just put through expenses straight through there, as well as obviously markets as cash and bank transfers as well, and we add that into there as well. I do put all of this into my Shopify, so all the sales I put through my Shopify, just so I can sort of keep a track how we're going in terms of total sales as well through there. So how did we go in terms of total sales for 25, 26? $2,924.83 in online sales, $3,905.64 in in-person sales, mainly driven by two major markets that we did, and $100 direct to retailer. We do have another retailer that's on consignment at the moment, so fingers crossed we sell some boxes and we'll make some money off that. Total sales revenue, $6,930.47. Not enough to pay my rent or anything really, but it's a start. We're here, we're selling product, we're getting product into people's hands, and it's amazing to see that something that was just a vision in our head has now sold $6,000, almost $7,000 in the first, I guess, year of sales. We did have a 3-month period where we couldn't take payments in that as well. I might make a video of that. I probably talked about it in a previous video, but because it's considered a nutraceutical product, we were sort of banned for payments for a little bit, but we've now found eWay, which is amazing to work with, Tyro, who are also amazing to work with, and we were able to sort that out, and we're back fully taking payments. So realistically, I mean, this is obviously the 25, 26 actuals, but we did have a 3 to 4 month span in there where we couldn't really take payments, we weren't really advertising, and that's probably hurt sales a little bit as well. So interesting to see what 26, 27 brings. Now let's get down to the costs of sales and the operating expenses. And this is where really hurts your margins, and you really understand why you need to have such a high margin in any sort of business to keep successful and keep the doors open, I guess what they say. Keep the lights on. Whichever saying you want to pick, you pick your own. All right. So let's start with product costs. A few of our product costs were our boxes. So we had to do our final payment for our boxes, which was $1,045. And we then put some transparent box stickers on there as well that I got off eBay. This is just sort of to seal up the individual boxes. I thought this makes it look a little bit more professional. They were $4.50. Our sachets themselves, there's two different payments in there. So we did get initial sachets, and then we had another run of sachets, which is amazing. It means we sold out of our initial purchase order quantity. The minimum order did increase for this time though. It did make the sachets a little bit cheaper, but it also meant you had to purchase more. So we had payments of $1,641.97 for our initial, and then we had $2,475 for our next ones. I won't go through all of them, just because there's so many random little expenses in here. But the next major one was our raw product. And that was 13 kilograms of our kava powder. And that was $1,870. That includes delivery in there as well. We have got an awesome supplier that already imports it from Fiji. So that keeps the sort of cost down a little bit. And it's just sort of a national transfer for that as well, which is fantastic. Our postage costs. People don't understand how much Australia Post actually charges small businesses in terms of postage. And this is a killer, and you have to build this into the margin. If we, on our website, we have over, I think you spend over $49 and you get free postage. So we got to bear that cost of that postage. Obviously, the more you sell, you do have tiers in terms of your postage. So it does get a little bit cheaper, but obviously when you start off, you don't have any tiers, right? You need to have a minimum going through Australia Post before they tier you. So postage costs in the first year was $636.43. Obviously, you can quickly see how much this stuff adds up. A postage box, I didn't want to have my home address stamped on each one of these boxes, so we did buy a postage box, and that cost us $352.75. Our postage boxes, so these are just our brown boxes. They're not customized or anything like that. I just bought two different sizes to fit, I guess, 1 or 2 box orders and 3 and 4 box orders, and they cost us $113.65. Finally, transaction fees. Because we can't use Shopify payments because they don't support Kava for whatever reason, I don't understand why, but they don't. So we have to pay Shopify transaction fees of 2% for every sale we make. We also pay our eWay transaction fee, which I think is 30 cents per transaction and 1.5%. So if you're doing the maths, that's already 3.5% plus 50 cents, which cuts into your margin big time. And then if we do in-person sales, I think Tyro charges a flat 1.5% fee. And obviously that doesn't go through Shopify. So for us, in-person sales are probably the best, but also probably the hardest to achieve because you have to do an outlay in terms of markets, which I'll talk about in our operating expenses. So total cost of sales in 25-26 was $8,271.34. As you can already see, we are in the red for 25-26. There's still operating expenses to go. So you have your guess now. How much are we going to be in the red in 25-26? Chuck it into the comments below. Yeah, this is small business, guys. This is startup. This is what it is. So our gross profit, just purely cost of sales versus minus revenue, was negative $1,340.87, which was 19.35%. We're in the loss, just for there. Let's go into operating expenses. Sales and marketing. So marketing is a mixture of the fees that we pay to go to markets, as well as meta ads. So we do run a few meta ads. I'm not really great at them. If anyone has any tips below or can help out, as you can see, we're not in the green at all. So don't want to spend heaps of money on this, but learning meta ads has been difficult. We do sort of run ads and then we sort of stop for a little bit. I'm trying to get back into that mode of consistently trying to run ads. But again, it does eat into your margins. And unless you have repeat customers, it's not viable, all right? So just trying to figure all that out, but it does include meta ads. So total cost of marketing was $1,403.96. So subscriptions, we had Shopify annual subscription, which was $516.88. We did purchase a different business name for, fingers crossed, something that's going to come in the future, but that's $104 for that one for 3 years. We did also purchase another domain name to back this up. This was purchased through GoDaddy because they didn't have the .com.au. That was $47.91. Canva subscription, again, obviously it's a yearly subscription, $165. Wouldn't be able to do this without that, so super important. And Google Workspace, which is $130.68. So that brings subscriptions and admin to a total of $964.47 for the 25-26 financial year. Events. This is a major expense purely because of one of the largest events we did, which was the Mind Body Spirit Festival. Alone, this cost a fair chunk of money. But in total, the events we've done cost us $3,394.91. So when you do events, it's not only, I guess, the fee that you need sort of table setups and things like that. So I've got a couple of things in here that we require to do events. Obviously, hopefully they're one-off costs and we don't have to keep repurchasing a lot of these things. But there are some things that are consumable items that we need to keep purchasing. So we did a Mind, Body, Spirit festival. In total, this was over $2,000 for that one alone. We do use little cups for testers, so that's a consumable expense as well. Things like parking are in there, food for the festivals. We did another market that cost us $550, as well as a trolley. So we used a little sort of fold-out trolley to take all our stuff into the markets, and that cost us about $50 as well. And a water container, because it is technically a food product, you do need a water container, you do need hand sanitizer and all that sort of stuff. So all those purchases combined add into the event space as well. As you can see, the expenses really add up, especially when your total sales revenue isn't that high. Look, in terms of the markets, I guess you don't do the markets to make money on top necessarily. We've probably been at a loss for all the markets. I mean, we've broken even in terms of what we've spent for the market, but obviously when you put in product costs into that as well, you're in a negative, right? So you're just hoping these customers enjoy your product and they come back and repurchase. So let's talk administration, right? So office equipment, again, I had to do a couple of things to fix up the home office, and I just put this into the business because hopefully if the business does become profitable, you use these write-offs, the negative years, to sort of offset the positive years, right? So hopefully in the first couple of years, if we ever do get positive, or we will get positive, when we do get positive, should I say, all this stuff will sort of be deducted against that. So I'll put that into the business, and that's just a whole bunch of like monitor lights and keyboards and things like that I needed just to fix up the space in my office as well. So office equipment total cost us $490.05. Miscellaneous, this is random things that we sort of purchased throughout the time. This was $358.40. Bank fees, when we had that sort of initial period where Shopify said, no, we can't support you, I found a sort of third-party bank provider, and they charge a monthly fee. In hindsight, this was a bad idea. I wish I knew more about banking and business banking and what's sort of required and the process that you should go through in terms of underwriting to make sure that you're with a provider that you're happy with. I didn't do as much research, so we did have some fees in there, which was $227.50. This won't be recurring. It'll just be transaction fees from now on. We don't have monthly fees with any of our new banking partners, which is going to be a real help. And then we did decide to get insurance. Obviously, when you do markets, some of them do require to have your own insurance. And we just thought, look, if we are going to start making a little bit more sales, we better get insurance, about $30 a month. And we've spent $62.32 in terms of that. So total operating expenses, $6,901.61. As you can see, operating expenses are very expensive, and we will need to sell a lot more product in order to get positive. So if you can, please like the video, share the video. I want to try and get as many people onto the YouTube platform as I can to help them understand what it is like to run a business. And hopefully, if you guys really want to show support, please jump on the website and purchase some of our beautiful kava. It's amazing, really helps with sleep, relaxation. So net profit. We are in the hole, $8,242.48. And the net profit margin is minus 120%. That is purely for the 25-26 year. If you want to add together the 24-25, 25-26, we are in the negative for the first, 2 years of the business, $11,692.93. This has been funded by us. This comes out of our pocket in the hope that we can sort of build this business as years go on. I understand that, typically the first couple of years of business are hard and you are in the negative. But yeah, hopefully we can continue growing, we can make sales, and this year is a better year. If you guys did like this video, I can continue making more of these. Let me know. I can give sort of more regular updates instead of just waiting for the full year breakdown. I can sort of give maybe a quarterly update for you guys. Let me know. Please like the video, share the video. If you want to see any of our others, click on the screen here. See you in the next one.